This is News at 8.
Good evening and welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Tonight, President Mahama appeals to striking doctors to call off their action, but the doctors say they will only do so conditionally. Cross-examination of Dr. Baumia, the chief witness of the petitioners in the 2012 election dispute, continued today at the Supreme Court. Amnesty International asked Ghanaians to pressure government to expunge the death penalty from the country's statutes. The Ghana Armed Forces has justified the exoneration of its officers who were accused of assaulting some journalists, but the GJA says it is not satisfied with the outcome. Vice President Kwesi Misarata has launched a project to restore a dried-up stream to supply water to some areas in Adan. All these, plus business, sports and showbiz, coming up.
News at 8 with Israel Live.
President John Mahama has appealed to medical doctors currently on strike to reconsider their decision and return to work while their grievances are resolved. In his first public statement on the doctor strike at a special congregation of the University for Development Studies in Tamale, the president reminded the doctors that they cannot allow those whose taxes pay them to suffer. He also noted that their concerns, including the issue of conversion difference, is not peculiar to them, but to other health workers. The president referred to the valedictory speech of the graduating medical doctors and urged them to remember it at all times. Meanwhile, the Ghana Medical Association says it is ready to call off its strike if only government commits itself to a signed document instructing the Controller and Accountant General to restore the payment of conversion difference and refund arrears with a payment schedule. A statement from the association signed by its president, Dr. Kwabena Opoku-Dusay, and General Secretary Dr. Frank Srebo noted the restoration of the conversion difference will automatically correct the reduced pensions. The statements also conceded the doctors were paid conversion difference for several months with the implementation of the single spine salary structure. It was, however, quick to add that the payment was unilaterally suspended by government and amounts already paid were subsequently recovered. It also states that at a meeting held on April 23, 2013, the health minister informed the GMA that the payment of the conversion difference was no longer in contention and appealed to the doctors to restore emergency services. The release emphasizes the association's preparedness to jealously guard the salaries and pensions of doctors in the public sector. It ended with a caution that any delay in resolution of the issue and subsequent resumption of work by doctors should be laid at the doorstep of government. Now, human rights body Amnesty International is urging Ghanaians to bring pressure to bear on government to expunge the death penalty from the country's statutes. Though several regimes have indicated they will want it removed and an amendment is currently under consideration, the human rights body is concerned. It says government must take action now, else Ghana risks being alienated in the community of nations. Amnesty International made the call at the launch of its 2012 annual report on fact and figures on capital punishment across the world.
Ghanaians should also be worried that so long as we retain the death penalty clause in the Constitution, it is likely that it may be used one day, just like what happened in the Gambia in August last year, when Yahya Jammeh ordered that his countrymen and women, 9 of them, should be executed, and they were executed secretly. Our information and reports indicate that Republic of China remains the leading culprits, with over 1,000 confirmed executions in 2012. There were others that were not reported and therefore were not captured in our report. This list is followed by Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and USA in that order, with over 314 for Iran, 129 for Iraq, 79 for Saudi Arabia, and 43 for USA. There were 8 persistent executioners. These are the countries that are known to execute every year since 2007 to 2012. And they are also referred to as the 8 worst offenders. These countries include China, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, USA, Yemen, Sudan, and Afghanistan.
Now, Emmanuel Ante has meanwhile been soliciting public opinion about capital punishment, which apparently remains a controversial subject, especially when it relates to someone close.
The world opinion weighs heavily against capital punishment, and an increasing number of countries are expunging it. The countries which continue to carry out executions, apart from the US, are mainly found in the Muslim countries, where people are killed as a sanction for crimes ranging from adultery, opposing the government, flouting religious doctrines, and consumption of alcohol. 682 people were executed in 21 countries last year. Here in Ghana, though it remains a sanction and several criminals are currently on death row, none of the 167 condemned criminals has been executed in the last 30 years. There are 167 inmates on death row, 27 of them condemned last year, while some believe such death row inmates should be executed.
Whosoever killed must be killed also. I wouldn't like to see the armed robber go scot-free or be sentenced to life imprisonment. I would rather opt that the person be killed as well.
I think such people must also be killed.
There are those, however, who disagree.
The person should be sentenced in life imprisonment, not the... Similarly, the life imprisonment can be subjected to death penalty, because if the age of the person is 30 years or 40 years old and life imprisonment, maybe the person will be there for life.
But most people often tend to change their stance if the inmate who has to be killed is a relative.
I prefer him be in prison than being killed, yes.
No, I think that thing should be looked at again. Capital punishment or death or something. Sometimes some people are killed innocently.
The amendment bill that will expunge capital punishment is currently before Parliament after the process to remove it expired with the previous Parliament, which had initiated it. The legislators have assured they intend to readily tackle it once they return from recess. But legal practitioner David Asari says, until that is done, judges have very little choice.
If the law says that the person should be killed, that in terms of capital punishment, then so be it. That is what has been posted in the law. But swaying away from the law, we have what we call natural justice. Right. Those natural justice emanates from natural law. So if you give a human face to it, then the person, instead of being killed instantly or being killed, sentenced to death, then I think if the person is given life sentence, it will help the cause of humanity.
Now, the Ghana Armed Forces has justified the exoneration of its officers accused of assaulting 2 photojournalists during last month's Independence Day parade in Accra. The journalists were said to have been accosted in their attempts to take photographs of President John Mahama.
Footage captured by Joy News cameras shows Vincent Dache of the Ghanaian Times newspaper being shoved about. He later told Joy News he was slapped by the officers, though that wasn't captured by our cameras. His colleague, Nima Tebuchi of the Daily Graphic, was also said to have been electrocuted in his private parts. But Public Affairs Director at the Ghana Armed Forces, Colonel Mbawene Atintande, however, says their investigations revealed the journalists were not assaulted. Colonel Atintande told Joy News AM show the mere fact that a soldier's hand was found on one's cheek does not mean there was a slap.
If I put my hand on your cheek, does it mean that I have slapped you? No, it does not. The first thing that we have to understand is that we don't encourage any high-handedness whatsoever, by soldiers. No. even if it is to your own colleague. All right? For example, I can tell you that even if you show a weapon, point a weapon at an individual, even when you are joking, it is still taken as a very serious offense. So it is not that we encourage soldiers to beat people, no. Every day we try to let them understand that they must not do that. And so in this particular case, we just want to understand what actually happened. And when we investigated it, we realized that there was no actual slapping of anybody.
The GJA has meanwhile reacted to the Army's report, calling it biased and incomplete.
About 300 women and children were on Tuesday allegedly forced out of their homes by land guards at Abuna in the Katamanso district of the Greater Accra region. The land guards wielding guns, clubs and machetes were said to have attacked the town following a dispute over the ownership of land in the area. The townsfolk are said to have fled to nearby towns and villages for refuge. Though they have been assured of their safety, only the men have braced themselves and returned to Abuna. Vice President Kwesi Amissah has commissioned a project that will see the restoration of a stream that dried up over 40 years ago. The Wasaku River, a very important water body for the people of Wasakuse, was the main source of livelihood for the people, mainly fisherfolk, who also conducted other trades along its banks. Commissioning the project, authorities expressed optimism it will revive the communities in the area.
The Wasakuse Water Project falls under the Water for Dry Season Farming Project, which aims to provide water for irrigation and domestic use. The stream was dried up after a section of it was silted with sand and debris from the surrounding communities. Vice President Kwesi Amissah says the project, once completed, will create 58,000 jobs.
The silting of this channel of the Volta tributary halted economic activity of the people of the Dangme East and Dangme West districts, as well as the adjoining districts of Anlo and Tong East. Fishing was a major activity on this river channel and was abandoned, leading to the migration of fishermen. The excavation here at Wasakuse is nearing completion. When completed, this project will revive economic opportunities and provide employment for 58,000 people in and around the Dangme East district. The initiative that NAGMO has commenced includes tree planting as a means of improving the climate and providing firewood to fuel communities that live in the area.
At the deba for the launch of the project, MP for the area, Comfort Doyo Gansa, called for residents who relocated following the dry up of the stream to return and help rebuild the town.
Several years of neglect and unconcern led to the death of the dependent communities on the river, leading to the abject poverty and even forcing parents to send their wards into child slavery. This project has brought smile on the faces of my people, who now have the opportunity again of engaging in fishing, farming, and other viable economic ventures to put money in their pockets. I therefore entreat the youth who have deserted the area for non-existing white-collar jobs to return and take their destiny into their own hands.
President of the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs, Nene Kabo Abram III, used the occasion to remind government of some promises made to the town during the elections.
My joy is enormous, since this will bring backlight to this area and boost socio-economic activities. His Excellency the President made a commitment to see the provision of a senior high school for Kase during his last campaign tour when he addressed a gathering at Kase on his last campaign rounds before the elections, promised some allocation of the one child, one laptop to students in the district. I would like to use this opportunity to remind the President to deem this promise.
The Vice President earlier visited Fantevi Kope, a small town at Adang, where he inspected an ongoing irrigation project that will trap rainwater. He was also at Bedeku, where a similar dam was under construction, and interacted with handlers of the project, including MP for the area, Comfort Doyo Gansa.
The primetime news continues shortly. Research conducted into some of the unending conflicts in Ghana has revealed the fundamental issues that spark them have often been ignored in mediation efforts. The findings, contained in a book titled Peacekeeping in Ghana, Lessons Learned, Options for the Future, studied 3 key conflicts, including that between the Alabanyos and Nkonyas of the Volta region. Authored by Linda Dakwa, Philip Atukwefio and Efua Yakuhene, the book proffers solutions to these conflicts.
The book also researched into the perennial conflict between traditionalists and the Greater Accra region and churches during the annual ban on drumming and noise-making, as well as the clashes that intermittently erupt between the Kokombas and their neighbors. Professor Audrey Gajekpo of the School of Communication Studies, who reviewed the book, was impressed with the amount of work done by the authors.
Titled, as you know, Peacemaking in Ghana, Lessons Learned, Options for the Future, the book focuses on 3 major and maybe I should say popular conflicts that have dogged Ghana. The ban on drumming, the Alavanyo-Nkonya conflict, and the conflicts between the Kokomba and their neighbors. These 3 are good case studies that can inform our understandings of the complicated nature of the country's internal conflicts and the delicate process of peacemaking in Ghana. The genesis of the conflicts that tend to flare up intermittently go deeper than the immediate cause. They are multifaceted in dimension and rooted in, as they describe it, histories, memories, ideologies, etc., that are evoked to mobilize support for group survival, which is intrinsically linked to individual survival. The book made good reading. It was informative, it was instructive, it was educative. I'm afraid it was not entertaining because it wasn't meant to be.
The Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana Research Office, Professor John Owusu Japon, also praised the authors. He described the lack of interest in reading and research by the youth and pledged the university's support for research that will contribute towards the country's growth.
We've introduced the large-scale multidisciplinary projects where people can apply up to about 100,000 CDs to do research. We think research is important because every nation that forgets to do research is forgetting to grow. So the University of Ghana will continue to support research of its faculty. 500,000 is not big enough, but it's a good start. And we'll continue to lobby our councils and our senior management to ensure that we get a lot more money to support the numerous research application grants that we receive.
The authors say they are hopeful the book will influence readers and enhance their knowledge of how best to resolve problems.
Now, government's plans of getting more girls to take up ICT may not produce results as early as expected. Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, says the country should achieve 50% representation of women in ICT. But the chairperson of the Committee on Girls in ICT, Eva Loko, says the project is fraught with challenges such as inadequate computers and lack of access to the internet. This, she fears, will disturb plans of extending the project to the 9 remaining regions. She made the observation at a ceremony to commemorate the 2013 Girls in ICT Day.
Globally, women make up just 30% of ICT technicians, lending credence to the assertion that ICT is a male-dominated field. But experts say in an era of technical advancement, ICT must not be the preserve of males. Chairperson of the Committee on Girls in ICT, Eva Loko, is optimistic the project can help bridge the gender gap in ICT.
We want to see girls use ICT for learning. We want them to use it to plan their future careers or their future business. We teach them all this. And we want them to be able to go on the net and be safe. Because honestly, ICT pays better than any job in the world. And we're talking about what? Youth unemployment, teach them ICT, they will get jobs. Or they will create ones themselves.
Communications Minister Dr. Edward Omani-Boama noted that government has instituted measures to open up the ICT sector and make it accessible to all. He added the Girls in ICT project would also create employment for the youth.
With this exposure, it will be evident to our maidens that ICT provides abundant opportunities for employment, innovation, entrepreneurship and empowerment, and indeed, welcoming for female participation and leadership. We are working very hard towards establishing a national IT council which will regulate the practice of IT in the country. If lawyers have a general legal council, if doctors have the Ghana Medical and Dental Council, IT also deserves a council.
About 20 girls who took part in the competition were presented with laptops and internet modems at a ceremony to mark the International Day of Girls in ICT.
Now, Values for Life, a non-governmental organization in collaboration with Total Ghana, has held the second Young Anti-Malaria Ambassador campaign in commemoration of World Anti-Malaria Day, which is today. Participants were giving malaria preventive items such as a way of reducing malaria cases.
Started with pupils sketching dramas which illustrated causes and ways of preventing malaria, which includes weeding bushy environments, sweeping off dirt, and avoiding accumulation of garbage in the environment, among others. These sketches brought awareness to the significance of keeping a clean environment and the avoidance of stagnant waters, since those are conditions that breed the mosquito, which carries the malaria parasite. The sketch also drew awareness to the need for using chemically treated bed nets as a preventive measure to the malaria infection. A representative from Values for Life and Total Ghana, as well as members of the Ghanaian theatre fraternity, took turns to address the participants on how to take malaria preventive measures seriously. The participants were given some free chemically treated mosquito bed nets.
Up next, we bring you business news.
Business is brought to you.
Pitching for about $745 million for the second compact of the Millennium Challenge Account program, which will focus on the power sector. This is contained in the second proposal the country sent to the U.S. government, which has since been approved. Out of this estimated cost, $565 million will be taken up by the Millennium Challenge Corporation, while the remainder will be borne by the government of Ghana and the private sector. The proposal cited by Joy Business reveals that Ghana needs the funds for mainly power generation, distribution, and improvement of the country's energy assets. Ghana was last year selected for the second compact by the U.S. under the Millennium Challenge program. This was after it successfully completed the $547 million compact to help transform agriculture in the country. Meanwhile, Joy Business has learned some officials of the Millennium Challenge Corporation are in town to help the country fine-tune its proposal. This would ensure that it gets the final approval from the board of the corporation for onward disbursement of the funds to the second compact. The Ghana National Gas Company has confirmed that Sinopec has threatened to abandon the gas infrastructure project if government continuously fails to honor its financial commitments on the project. Sinopec is a Chinese company constructing the facility in the Western region. The $700 million project started in 2011 and was expected to be completed within a year. It's about 60% complete due to financial constraints. Chief Executive Dr. George Sipayanki tells Joy Business they have had to continuously plead with Sinopec not to stop work. The project, when completed, will provide gas for power generation as well as for domestic purposes. Up next, we bring you some smart investment tips. UT Holdings says it's shelving its plans to list on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange by 2015. The company last year told Joy Business it was working to list on the local bourse of South Africa after it established a non-bank financial institution in that country. UT Holdings is a parent company of UT Bank, UT Life Insurance, UT Properties, and UT Debt Collections. Chief Executive Prince Kofi Amabin told Joy Business they are shelving the listing due to some challenges. He however noted that they plan to expand to other countries in Africa. It's however still under consideration. Traders at the new Ogbojo market in Medina are pleading with their colleagues who are still refusing to move to the market to trade to do so, as business there is not as bad as they think.
Ago, traders who occupied the fringes of the Medina-Ebui Highway and Zongo Junction were evicted by the Lankwantanan Medina Municipal Assembly. Some of the traders relocated to the new market at Ogbojo, but according to traders at the new market, their colleagues left within days, saying business was too slow. But some of the traders at the Ogbojo market say business is brisk, adding it could get better if their colleagues returned.
Say omuntu me ba hanti kwanu wo na aka na ombe fanu so a ho ni station cars ni station ha nti na omusa akoe omumbra na ombe kaye ho na adwanu enko wo ma nyina
mpacho me first na me wo Madina ne ho no na enye mame abaye fo be pamuye na ayesi embla ha na me ba han fie mi ensani me ba ha yi na me aye madum me nyama kosoma me finse first me gina wiamu ho si anyame maduma topata a mitimu a miton ade ti enu ana me di bo ame man so school kakra
market ya no ye to ade wo mu se ye nto ne te se Medina de na so kakra nyame adoma e bedura nwumra no wo so no wanya wo de so enti no wo mu ba wo mu se wo mu de wo mu hwe school ye nyina ye so ye te ye hwe school enti wo mu nya botre no mu mra ye nyina ye ntena se ne ntwe nyankopon anim nyame nti ye beto ama wo mu so
Agadi de anuane wugidi ne abotre yemfa gidigidi say na nkwa obenya sika no ne nkwa wintimi nya enti no edom a omugu ho no omomo amade no mo so momra maka ye ho no mo nya abotre nye gidi manyame say nyame sa no ocheso nyame ocha ma obia no sa no becha ama ya so aso ye so.
In the meantime, the empty stalls have become a resting place for people. Some taxi drivers we caught up with also urged the traders to relocate to the market. The traders have, however, occupied some other areas behind the Medina Old Bus Station. Meanwhile, both human and vehicular movements on the stretch have become freer.
Gold production in Ghana has seen a steady increase as the years go by. Outputs of gold production has made Ghana the second largest producer and is among the world's 10 biggest gold producing countries. We take a look at some trends in gold production over the last 3 years.
Perhaps it is by no mere coincidence that Ghana was once called the Gold Coast. Gold abounds here and it contributes immensely to the national gross domestic product. With 8 mines at the country's disposal, coupled with a favorable gold price environment, the gold mining sector has been reinvigorated, leading to an increasing trend of gold production in Ghana, especially in the past 2 years. Production increased from 92 metric tons in 2010 to 102 metric tons in 2011, contributing about 40% of total merchandise export during the year, according to a statement from the Ghana Chamber of Mines. This performance also ranked the country 7th in the world's 10 biggest gold-producing countries. Gold revenue increased by 28% from over $3.6 billion in 2010 to over $4.6 billion in 2011. Due to an increase in the average realized price of gold, which appreciated by 30% from about $1,219 per ounce in 2010 to $1,583 per ounce in 2011. Gold production rose 64% in the first quarter of 2012, and its exports during the first half of the year earned $3.2 billion, up 32% on the same period in 2011, according to the Bank of Ghana. The sector also employed about 28,000 people, while mineral royalties returned to the mining communities in the Western, Ashanti and Boahafu regions from 2009 to 2011 stood at 41 million Ghana cedis. But in spite of the growth in gold production, the World Bank in a 2013 report indicated that mineral reserves of African countries, though contributing to economic growth, has not benefited the poor. Poverty levels are still high, but perhaps Ghanaians can only benefit from minerals such as gold if mineral contracts are transparent and revenues accrued are used in infrastructural, health and educational development to benefit the poor. Abigail Adumakwenchi for Joy News.
Business was brought to you in association with
First Atlantic Bank, the compelling place to bank.
Maximum, your world of maximum possibilities.
Latest in the world of sports. My name is George Adi Jr. Let's start with the Black Starlets. And the Black Starlets arrived in the country last night after their disappointing campaign at the ongoing African Under-17 Championship in Morocco. The Under-17 team could not qualify for the next stage of the competition after drawing goalless with Ivory Coast in their final Group B match last Saturday. Coach Park Kwesi Fabian's side managed 1 defeat and 2 draws to finish 3rd place in Group B. Joy Sports cameras met them on arrival at the Kotoka International Airport.
We were brought down home in our first match, and that has taught us that going to entering the competition, you don't have to be so overconfident. You must tread cautiously, and then prepare psychologically and mentally to be able to play in such tournaments. If they are kept and they are given the necessary encouragement, 3, 4, 5 years, these are the guys who play for the Black Stars.
These were boys who had played the Under-17 competition for Nigeria last 2 years. Most of them were playing in their Premier League, and our boys were young. Do you defend and allow them to come at you more, or you still attack? And let's not forget Ghana's pride was at stake, and you needed to chase the game. And when you chase it, they play on the counter, score the 4th goal, your goalkeeper is red carded, you still go trying to redeem your image, make it 4-1, and they still try to score more. You know, sometimes it's about pride. You see that you are down and you don't want to go down more, you want to attack. And that's what exactly happened tactically. Unfortunately for us, we're also living with the Congolese in the same hotel. And when they saw the boys, they were calling them petit garçons, meaning they are small boys. And this really affected us. So there was nothing we could do.
All right. So, yeah, Petit Garçon, the under-17 team, the national team, that's the Starlets. Very interesting. But the postmortem on this team will be ongoing, surely. We know that the playing body will not be changed, but of course we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the technical team. Let's now switch to sports and do some boxing now. Filipino boxer Ronald Pontiers is brimming with confidence as he gears up to face Ghana's Emmanuel Tego, who is the current WBA International WBO Africa Super Featherweight champion. Ronald held his workout session at the second gym in Accra and says all is set for his triumph tomorrow at the Cross Sports Stadium. He spoke to Joy Sports.
What would you be doing between today and Friday?
Just going to rest and make the weight. Yeah.
Are you comfortable fighting at the super featherweight division?
Yeah. Actually, this is the weight I've been champion, OPBF and Philippine champion. Yeah. I'm comfortable with 130 pounds.
What about your opponent, Emmanuel? Have you seen any videos of him yet?
Yes, I saw in YouTube. He fights with George Ashi. It's good. I saw their fight. Very good. Good fight.
Yeah. And, you think you can beat him on Friday?
Yeah, I came here to fight, so I'm go for a win.
Are you going to predict any thing?
No, just watch the fight. We're gonna see it on Friday. I'm gonna do my best to the fight. So watch.
Okay, so Ronald Pontiers, we'll watch him tomorrow. And the two will be fighting for the vacant WBO Africa Junior Lightweight, a title Tego once held at the Cross Sports Stadium. And quick updates on the UEFA Europa games that are ongoing. Chelsea are leading Basel by 1-0, and it's goalless between Fenerbahce and Benfica. More on that. That'll be over sports tonight. My name is George Adejunior. Do have a good night. Israel will join us with some more.
Sports was brought.
We now go to the Supreme Court, where a hearing of the election petition seeking to annul the results